Hey, I'm Alex Yaros. This is my new horror story. Hope you enjoy it. Subscribe, like, and let me know what you think in the comments.
I found the first coin on a Thursday morning. It was tucked beneath my pillow, cold and old and heavy. At first, I'd thought it had slipped from my pocket during the night. It was a strange little thing. Copper, maybe bronze, about the size of a quarter but thicker, rough around the edges and completely unfamiliar. No date, no denomination. Just a symbol stamped into both sides, a crescent moon crossed by 3 vertical lines. I rolled it between my fingers on the way to the kitchen, more curious than alarmed. It felt real, but it didn't belong. I asked Mara about it while we were eating breakfast. She shrugged. "Maybe it fell out of your backpack? You do hoard weird junk," she said with a smile, brushing crumbs from her lip. I laughed, pocketed the coin, and forgot about it. Mostly. That night, I dreamed of a man standing in the doorway of my childhood bedroom. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Just stood there in perfect stillness, wearing a dark coat that shimmered like oil and a featureless pale mask that reflected light like glass. I couldn't move in the dream, just watched from the bed, breath caught in my chest. When I woke, I was cold, and under my pillow was another coin. Identical. That was the first time I felt the fear. I didn't say anything to Mara. She'd always called me sensitive, even when we were kids. I chalked it up to stress, nightmares and forgotten toys. Nothing more. But the third night, the dream returned. Same man, same doorway, except this time he stepped 1 foot closer. And again, the morning brought a coin. By the end of the week, I had 5 of them, all identical, all left beneath my pillow after nights I couldn't remember fully, only fractured images, flickering lights, distant whispers, the sound of something heavy being dragged just outside the room, and always him, watching, closer. Mara noticed the change before I admitted it aloud. "You're pale. You're not sleeping, are you?" she asked one morning, pouring coffee. "You used to talk in your sleep, you know. You said my name last night, over and over." I smiled weakly. "I don't remember," I said. "I've just been having weird dreams." She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Are they bad?" I nodded. "They're getting worse." The next night, I stayed up. I drank too much coffee, left the lights on, and watched the doorway from my bed until my eyes burned. At some point, I blinked, and when I opened my eyes, he was there, not in the dream, in the room.
Standing in the corner, still, mask reflecting the glow of the hallway light. I couldn't scream, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He didn't walk, he drifted, slow, silent, toward the bed. Then he knelt. I could feel him, real and cold and heavier than anything human, pressing into the mattress beside me. When I woke, my mouth tasted like metal. There were 2 coins under the pillow this time, and Mara was gone. I called her phone first, straight to voicemail. I tried her apartment, even though she'd been sleeping at my place all week. No answer. Then her mother, then the hospital, then the police. "When did you last see her?" they asked. "Last night," I said. "She was here. She was just here." I didn't mention the dream or the coins. I knew how it would sound. Instead, I walked room to room like I'd missed something obvious, like maybe she was still there, hidden just out of view. Her coffee cup was on the table, half full. Her toothbrush was still wet. Her coat hanging on the back of the chair. She hadn't gone somewhere. She'd disappeared. That night, I stayed in the living room with every light on, curled in a blanket like it could protect me. I didn't sleep. I didn't close my eyes. Still, sometime between 2 and 3 a.m., I must have drifted, just long enough to hear the creak of the bedroom door and the soft rasp of bare feet on hardwood. I opened my eyes and saw the coins on the floor, a trail of them leading from the bedroom down the hall like breadcrumbs. 10 of them, all identical, all shining faintly in the lamplight.
At the end of the hallway, the bedroom door was open, just a crack. I didn't remember leaving it that way. I picked up the coins one by one, hand trembling. Each was colder than the last. My fingers burned with frostbite by the time I reached the door. I pushed it open slowly. The bed was undisturbed, but on the pillow, her side, was her necklace, the small silver one shaped like a heart. She never took it off. Never. There was a coin beside it, and a note. 4 words. She paid for you. I dropped everything and ran. I slept in my car that night, parked outside a gas station, surrounded by buzzing neon lights and the illusion of safety. I didn't dream. Or maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't remember. When I woke, there was a coin on the dashboard. The gas station clerk didn't look surprised when I showed it to him. "That yours?" he asked. "I found it here." He looked at it, turned it over, nodded like he'd seen it before. "You've been dreaming, haven't you?" I didn't answer. He reached under the counter and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were more coins. Dozens, maybe hundreds. "You think you're the only one?" he said. "What is this? Who is he?" "You don't want to ask questions you already know the answer to."
I backed away. "I want to know what's happening to me." "You are being paid," he said softly, "but not in your favor." That night I dreamed again, not of the masked man, but of Mara. She was standing in a hallway, not mine, whispering something I couldn't hear. She was crying, trying to get through to me. Behind her, the shadows shifted, and then she disappeared again. When I woke up, my pillow was wet. There were 3 coins this time, and blood. I didn't go back home, not after the 3rd night. I drove west without a plan, without direction, stopping only when exhaustion blurred the lines on the road. I checked into a roadside motel with buzzing lights and a woman at the desk who barely looked up when I handed her my ID. The room smelled like mildew and cheap air freshener. The bed creaked. The mirror was cracked in the corner. I collapsed into it anyway. Sleep found me like a trapdoor. The dream was different this time. I was standing in a field under a blood-red moon. The wind howled with a human voice, and the grass moved like it was hiding something beneath. In the distance, a figure was kneeling beside a small mound of earth, digging with his hands. I moved closer, feet silent against the ground. The figure was the man in the mask. I recognized the coat, but his hands were bare and bloody. Each scoop unearthed more coins, and as he dug, he whispered names.
Names I knew. Mara, my mother,
My old roommate Jonah, a girl I barely remembered from elementary school. When I was close enough to see the hole, I realized it wasn't dirt. It was skin. He was digging into something alive. I screamed. He turned. I woke up gasping. There were 5 coins on the nightstand, one balanced perfectly on my chest. And under the bed, something moved. I didn't check. I checked out instead. Left the coins in the sink and drove until my vision doubled. I kept thinking of the clerk, the box, the people before me. If I wasn't the first, maybe someone knew how to stop it. I found her name online. Olivia Marsh, 43, missing for 7 years. Before she vanished, she'd posted a dozen frantic blog entries about the dream collector. The posts were mostly dismissed as creepypasta, archived and memed, but I recognized the language, the symbols, the coin. One of her entries mentioned a man named Elliot North, a professor of dream studies at a university 2 states over. It was a long shot, but it was something. I drove through the night and showed up at his office unannounced. He looked older than in the articles, gray at the temples, gaunt. But when I placed the coin on his desk, he froze. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "I didn't," I said. "He leaves them." Elliot closed the blinds, locked the door, and motioned for me to sit. "He left one for me, too, 30 years ago." I stared. "You survived?" He nodded slowly. "Barely. Most don't." He poured 2 glasses of water. His hand shook. "He doesn't want money," Elliot said. "He trades." "For what?" "For silence. For forgetting. For absence. He collects the moments we try to bury, the guilt, the secrets, the shame. He appears when you try to sleep it off, and he pays you for looking away." "And Mara?" I asked. "She gave you her coin. That's the highest payment." "She paid for me." Elliot nodded. "You owe him now." I swallowed hard. "How do I stop owing?" "You don't sleep." "I can't stay awake forever." "Then when you dream again, don't take the coin." "And if I do?" He looked at me, tired, resigned. "Then he'll collect." I left before dark, drove until my eyelids betrayed me. When I pulled into the next hotel, the clerk had one of the coins already waiting at the desk. "For you," she said, smiling too wide. "He left it ahead of time." I didn't take the coin. I left it on the counter and backed away like it might burn me. The clerk's smile never faltered. She watched me with unblinking eyes as I turned and walked out, heart pounding, mouth dry. I slept in the car again, windows cracked, wrapped in my jacket, but exhaustion had no pity. The dream came fast, sharp as a needle. I was back in the field, this time standing where he had dug before. The hole was deeper now, a pit, and at the bottom lay a tangled mass of limbs, not corpses, but bodies alive and twitching, whispering in unison, "Take it, take it, take it." The masked man stood beside me now, closer than ever, the crescent coins rattling in his gloved hands like dice. He didn't speak, but I heard his voice inside me. "One more won't hurt." When I woke, there was a coin in my closed fist. I threw it out the window.
It bounced once on the asphalt, then vanished before it hit the ground again. No sound, no trace. The car radio switched on by itself, static first, then a whisper. "She's still waiting." I turned it off and kept driving. For hours, days. I lost track. Every night I dreamed. Every morning a coin appeared. Dashboard, pocket, shoe, sleeve. I stopped touching them. Elliot said not to take them, but it didn't matter. I didn't pick them up, but they came anyway. I started seeing other people with the same look. Haunted eyes, twitchy hands, that strange stillness that came from too many nights half awake. One man at a truck stop washed his hands for 20 minutes straight while muttering about the masked one. A woman on the bus clutched a sack of what looked like marbles, but when she dropped it, coins scattered across the aisle and no one moved to help. We were all being paid, all of us. I tried calling Elliot again. No answer. His line had gone dead. When I went back to his office, it was empty. Not just locked, cleared out like he'd never existed. I asked the receptionist. She said the office had been vacant for years. She didn't remember anyone named Elliot North. I checked the university records. Nothing. No blog posts, no articles. Gone. Like Mara. Like Olivia. Like all of them. That night, I didn't sleep. I injected caffeine, drank energy shots, paced until sunrise. No dreams, no coin. The next night, I did the same. Then the third. By the fourth night, I started seeing things in the waking world. Him, always at the edge of my vision. In reflections, in glass, in chrome bumpers, in puddles. Watching. Waiting. I blinked too long in the bathroom mirror and saw his mask behind mine. I screamed. I punched the glass. Shards hit the sink and bled my knuckles. Still no sleep. Still no coin. But I could feel him growing impatient. That night, I got a message. Not a call. A handwritten note slipped under my motel door. 5 words. In neat black ink. She paid. You never thanked.
The paper felt dry and brittle in my hands, like it had existed longer than the motel itself. I stared at the words until they blurred, not because of tears, but because my eyes could no longer keep up with reality. I hadn't slept in almost 6 days. Every cell in my body trembled with fatigue. My vision pulsed in and out like I was underwater, but the message was clear. She paid. You never thanked. He was reminding me that Mara had given up something for me, that her absence was a transaction, a payment in full, and I had never acknowledged it, never accepted it, never completed the cycle. I tried to burn the note, but the lighter wouldn't stay lit. I tried to flush it, but the paper stayed intact, spinning in the bowl like it was waiting to be read again. I left the motel and drove. Nowhere in particular. I didn't care. I passed fields and factories and mountains and towns where the lights flickered a little too long. I started noticing coins in the strangest places, pressed into the bark of trees, lodged in cracks of the pavement, one buried inside an orange at a roadside fruit stand. I didn't touch them. I knew better. I knew now that touching meant agreement, a contract, a handshake with the dark. Somewhere outside Flagstaff, I saw her. Mara, or what was left of her. She was standing on the side of the road, barefoot, in the same clothes she'd worn that last morning, the oversized hoodie, the ripped jeans. Her hair whipped across her face in the wind, and when she looked at me, her eyes were blank white. I stopped the car without realizing it, got out, took a step toward her.
She opened her mouth, and a cascade of coins spilled from it, pouring onto the ground in a waterfall of metal. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Just coins. Dozens. Hundreds. They pooled at her feet like blood. Then she was gone. I fell to my knees, reaching for her, for anything, but my fingers brushed only cold copper. The sky above me darkened suddenly, and I looked up to see the crescent moon, identical to the one stamped into the coins, hanging too close, too large, and pulsing faintly like a watchful eye. The wind whispered in my ear, "One more payment, one more night, one more coin." I drove again, fast, reckless. I didn't care anymore. I wanted to end it. I found the old field from my dreams, though I had no idea how. It was exactly the same, flat and lifeless. The grass tall and unmoving, the silence thick enough to choke on. I walked to the center and sat down. No more running, no more deals, no more sleep. I held my breath, waited. Then, without warning, sleep took me. Not gently. It yanked me downward like a riptide. In the dream, I wasn't alone. They were all there. Olivia, Elliot, Mara, the truck stop man, the woman with the sack, all standing in a wide circle around me, faces hollow, coin symbols burned into their palms. At the center, the masked man raised a hand and pointed at me. I understood then. I was the last one. The final payment. The debt was mine now. I reached into my pocket, and without knowing when or how, I was holding a coin. Just one. I placed it on the ground and said her name. Mara. Thank you. The circle collapsed inward. The masks stared down at me. And everything went dark. I woke up in my bed, my real bed, not a motel, not a car seat, not the back of my mind. Morning light leaked in through the blinds, soft and golden. The air was quiet. No distant whispers. No coins rattling beneath the surface of reality. For a moment, I believed it had ended, that the storm had passed, that somehow, by seeing her name, by acknowledging what she gave, I had closed the deal. Then I noticed the air. Too still, too perfect, like a set or a photograph. The kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from something holding its breath. I sat up. The room was exactly as I remembered it. The posters on the wall, the bookshelf, the jacket thrown over the chair. But there was no dust, not even a speck. No sound from the street outside. I reached for my phone. No signal. No time. The screen just blinked white. I stood slowly, walked to the door, opened it. Beyond it was not the hallway. It was the field. Not as it had been in my dreams, but hollowed out, drained of color, like the bones of a memory. The masked man stood in the distance, unmoving,
hands folded behind his back. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. He had waited long enough. "I gave it back," I said. My voice felt strange in the air, thick, muffled. "I paid." He tilted his head slightly. One gloved hand lifted, revealing a coin. Then another. Then another. They dropped from his palm, one by one, vanishing before they hit the ground. Too many. Far too many. Then he pointed at me. I looked down.
Coins were falling from me, slipping through my pockets, my sleeves, my skin, like I had been filled with them, like I was the vault. Every choice, every fear, every silence I'd let fester, all minted, all accounted for. And the balance wasn't paid. It had only begun. I turned and ran. The field didn't move, the air didn't resist, but my legs felt like lead. I tripped, fell, landed on a carpeted floor. My living room, the field gone. The light changed. A TV flickered silently. The couch sat empty, but on the coffee table, a single coin. One side now bore my face, on the other, the crescent moon. I picked it up. I didn't want to. I had to. A voice spoke behind me, calm, gentle, familiar. "Thank you for your payment." I turned. The masked man was gone, and in his place I saw myself, smiling, holding out a second coin. "For the next dreamer," I said, and the story began again.